Ladies and gentlemen, in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Nikawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Ipitawisswak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Can I get a motion, please, the agenda for the March 5th, 2024 regular meeting of council be adopted with the addition of closed session item intermunicipal matters? Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
I'll make the adoption, and there was a spelling error that we can correct.
That's the minutes.
Not in the minutes? Okay, there's no spelling errors.
Do you move the agenda?
I move the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get a motion, please, Councillor Pisichny, for the adoption of the minutes?
Yeah, I'll move the minutes with one small correction under present. The spelling of my first name is Greg, not Grey. And I'll move them. Other than that, I'll move the minutes, please.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. We have no public hearings, but we do have a delegation tonight, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Hassan Nasruddin, if you want to come up, sir, who will be presenting here this evening. Just a reminder that delegates have 15 minutes to speak through the chair. Though the chair may extend their time, council may ask clarifying questions. Debate concerning matters raised during the public presentation shall take place solely at the discretion of council, and responses should be directed through the chair. So welcome, Mr. Nasruddin, and your mic's on, so feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. First thing, thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain my situation. So I'm Edson resident since 5 years, and I have my utility bill on January came up to $792, and I wasn't sure why that much, because I left Edson for 6 days. I moved to Edmonton on January, and when I came back I received the bill. So I called the Edson town office and I explained, and someone who sent me an email to see if I have a leak in one of my bathroom in the house. So I checked, and I found a leak on my basement bathroom. Inside the toilet, there's a rubber piece. It was leaking. For those 6 days I wasn't home. So that's the reason my utility bill became that much for January. So and I was late to pay it because I was appointment for tonight to talk about it. So I'm late already on my bill, and I received my second bill a little bit over much. I usually pay one between $90 to $120 usually my utility bill, but it became up to $221 again because I fixed the problem after I called the office. And thank you. I don't know who was in contact with me through emails to tell me the procedures, what should I do to find out the leak without getting a plumber and check it out. So I found it by myself after their help. And this is all my situation. I'm not, I always pay my bills on time. I'm not late, but I'm asking for a break on this bill because I'm a self-employer, and it's been tough for the last 2-3 months here. So
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. If I may ask, Mr. Nasruddin, so what kind of forgiveness are you looking for? How much?
Anything just to help me out.
Okay.
On this one.
All right. Thank you. I will open the floor to questions. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Nasruddin? No questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. There won't be any decisions tonight, but we will get back to you.
Thank you so much.
I will say that typically we don't grant utility forgiveness requests, but we will certainly take your information into consideration and get back to you in a few weeks.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for taking the time, and
for your time.
feel free to stay if you want for the rest of the meeting, or if you want to spend the rest of your evening doing something else, we certainly understand.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, we have no reading of bylaws. Reports from administration. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the 2023 Communications Audit Report as information? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Make the motion that council accept the 2023 communication audit reports as information.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bevan, and our communications coordinator, Steve Bethgy, will be presenting on this evening. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Your worship, through to council, I'm here to present on the communications audit we had in 2023, some results, recommendations, and next steps from that report. So the objectives of this audit were to assess our communications effectiveness, assess our stakeholder engagement, identify some gaps, and make a roadmap for optimization of our department. We did a public survey in September of 2023. We had sort of an audit done on our communications channels and materials. We did a staff focus group, and we had a survey for our senior leadership team. The process was delayed a little bit due to the wildfires and flooding. Happened in the spring, right when we were going to release it, and then we didn't want to do that during the summertime to allow people a chance to actually answer the survey. Overall, the Edson respondents had a positive view of the town's communications efforts. 53% of respondents were satisfied or very satisfied. 26% were neutral. More than 2/3 of the respondents think that the town keeps them well informed. 73% said they always or usually believe what's provided to them, which in this day and age is pretty good. Slightly less than half feel that they know a lot or a fair amount about the town's operations. However, 53% rated the effectiveness of the town's communications regarding operations as very or somewhat effective. Most respondents, 87%, rely on official or unofficial social media sources for town info, and only 33% felt the right tools were in place to provide feedback, opinions, and ideas back to the town. The 3 ways respondents would like to receive news from the town are social media, website, and direct mail. On the website, respondents were most interested in reading news releases, getting general information, checking out the community events calendar, recreation facilities and programming. The town's website navigation needs to be simplified, and there are opportunities for improvement. In the charts here, you can see the numbers are fairly consistent between 2019 and 2023. 2019 is when we did the last audit. The numbers for news, television news, radio, newspaper all went down in that time. We talked a bit about internal communications. We have a number of channels like the website, app, social media platforms that do provide information for our employees. Maintaining several social media pages promotes sharing, prevents overwriting, and ensures that the most current information is emphasized. We did spend a lot of time last year kind of condensing that. We had a lot of Facebook pages, and we're trying to reduce it so that we don't have to search for a bunch of different pages to get the information. And we're making a few changes this year to sort of improve that. There's an appreciation for the frequency and timeliness of providing updates about the town, and the senior leadership team communicates primarily through email and through their senior management team meetings. Internal communication is viewed as ineffective and could be centralized through tools such as an intranet or internal e-newsletter. Town employees should receive advance notice of updates to be better prepared to address inquiries from residents, and they're asking us to consider ways to ensure employees who are field workers have access to the updates as well. So getting into the recommendations, recommendation 1 is to continue to strengthen existing communication strategies. We are currently working on formalizing a corporate communications plan, including an emergency crisis communications plan within that. Recommendation 2 is to strengthen community connection through informed engagement. Recently had a meeting with our managers and reviewed our communications practices and public participation policy that council passed to encourage more engagement. And recommendation 3 was to categorize the town's communication needs. So category 1 would be the crisis, critical communications. Category 2 is things that require my help with events and larger projects. And category 3 would be regular communication, notices, closures, day-to-day stuff. For internal, recommendation 1 is to implement an intranet for town employees. I'm currently working with IT on options for moving forward with that. Recommendation 2 is to develop an internal e-newsletter. Capacity is limited for that type of project right now, but we're reviewing options. How to better keep our staff informed. We do try to send out emails before we send stuff out, just so that the people answering the phones and dealing with the public on a day-to-day basis know what's going on. Recommendation 3, develop a comprehensive crisis communications plan. As mentioned, we're working on that right now, and it should be complete by the end of April, early May. And recommendation 4 is to strengthen resources and support for effective communications coordination. And we've currently been utilizing some contracted services to help fill in the gaps for that. And we're exploring options to continue to increase capacity. So just a bit of review on some of the tools that we use. Our website, the performance is commendable. It's search engine optimization compliant. It's mobile friendly. It's a secure website. It's only partially accessibility compliant. Social media integration could be improved along with optimizing page size requests that need requests from the public. So the recommendations and actions are enhancing the website accessibility to ensure full compliance, which we're doing as we're moving along, adding things that make it easier for screen readers to use, adding alternative text in photos, archiving our historical information so that the emphasis is on current information, incorporating the ability for residents to submit applications online, so more forms, online forms, that sort of thing, and reducing the number of click-throughs. We did recently do a bit of a restructure to go with our new organizational structure, and in 2025 we have a new website refresh coming up, and we're gonna look at some new options for features as well. For social media, the town has achieved commendable success in growing its social media audience, reflecting a positive interest and engagement from the community. June, of course, was the month with the highest number of impressions and page visits. I don't know why. Oh yeah. So they are looking at more audience engagement, so asking more questions, more cross-promotion, outreach to key demographics using platforms like Instagram to get more of the youth, which we have incorporated in the last few months. And keeping up with social media innovations and trends. And currently we're working with enforcement services to increase their reach as well, making changes to what used to be the animal control Facebook page is now going to be the enforcement services and animal control Facebook page. So our town app, not much has changed since the 2019 audit report. Residents consider the app to be user-friendly and helpful for receiving information. The app is updated, has consistent fonts. Information should be posted on social media and as well as the town app as quickly as possible. We're working on making sure that anything we do post to Facebook and Instagram is also posted on our website and our app. Showcase the app and encourage use through ads, which we do on a regular basis. The annual report, visually appealing. We did make some changes to that as we moved into an electronic form. And we're going to continue working through that and just improving it. It's only been 2 years now since we moved to the digital platform. Brochures, readily available on the town website, topic relevant visuals, so they want us to standardize templates, which is something we'll be working on this year. User-friendly design, visual appeal, and newspaper ads much of the same, make it more visually appealing and making it stand out and making it more accessibility friendly for seniors that may have difficult reading the smaller print or different colors. So we've already started a lot of work on the info coming out of this audit. Like I mentioned, changes have been made to the website to align with our structure. 2025 is our website renewal. We're going to add some functionality in that. There's some new modules out that we can look at. And we'll also be reviewing the search function of the site and looking for ways to improve that as well. Communications plan and crisis communications plan are being developed based on the results of this audit. Again, should be finished in April, May. I've been in discussions with website designers on a few items to assist in emergencies. One of the things was to create a standard one-click page, edson.ca/whatever it's going to be, that will be active only when there's an emergency going on in the community, where they can click, they can go and get all the information that we have on that one page. We'll still be pushing out the smaller pieces of information throughout the day, but that'll be their one-stop shop for anything that we have going on. We've started utilizing social media management software to assist in scheduling and creating new posts. It's going to be great for crisis situations, as we can push to all platforms at the same time. And it also lets you track the amount of posts that we do, and it's actually staggering when you look at the calendar. Continuing to work with IT as well to get some costing and plans together for some form of intranet for town staff. And that is the report, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you, Steve, for the presentation this evening. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, through the chair to Steve. How much did we compare this plan and the results with other communities are comparable size to us?
It's through the chair to Councillor Moore. It's really hard to compare communications to other communities, I'm finding. We are going through that process right now in more depth. But every community has a different level of communications that they do. So it's really hard to nail down exactly. Each communications person has different levels of communications that they do for their community. Some do economic development, some do a lot more, some are in different departments. So yeah, I don't really have a clear, concise answer for that.
Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair to Steve, just a question, clarification, like on your surveys where you got mail, website, social media, would mail mean email as well? Because I'm just looking that we're sending, if you get a mail, your utility bill gets emailed, would you send a survey at that time?
Through the chair to Councillor Schwannard. No, mail would be separate. Mail would be anything we sent through the post.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor and Mr. Bethji, thank you so much for your presentation and for your work on communications. It is, it's a huge job, and it's perhaps one of the number one priorities we have as a municipality is to let people know about information. And it's sometimes, it's so easy to let the public know about the good things that are happening, but also we have to update them on things that people may not be happy about, right? And, as a communications coordinator, sometimes you're the first to receive the negative feedback. But I do want to thank you for your work for a number of years. And of course, thank you for your work during the emergencies that we had. Those were long hours, and of course, getting those messaging out there in a simple and easy to understand way is difficult, but I thought you did it very, very well. So happy to see some of the changes you're making, the internal say newsletter, but the intranet is what you call it, that you can use, I think is great. We need departments talking to each other. We have a staff of 100 people, and the idea that you need to communicate with one another and make sure that there's no crossover in terms of events, or that Public Works knows about an event going on so they don't have construction crews happening when the event's going on, things like that, right? And I think that's going to be important. Looking at just a couple of comments or more questions, when we look at the crisis communications plan, I know during the evacuation we coordinated with a third party. Are you coordinating with a third party as you create that plan over the next month or so?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, we are working with a consultant to go through and develop this plan, and they will be reaching out to our fire chief and the RCMP as part of that planning. And we didn't want to go too far into the third party thing, but it'll definitely be a part of the planning.
Okay, all right. And, thank you. Sorry. So the other thing I'm happy that I'm hearing, and I just want to see perhaps more of this, whether it's a comment or not, I don't say it's a question, but is advertising certain community development programs. Right? We have a lot of different programming that they do. And it's somehow getting the message out there and finding ways so that when we look at social media, is that post getting enough traction that it needs, right? And, done the communications at the school level, right? And it's certainly nowhere near to what you do, nowhere near. But finding ways like, how do I make that post get enough traction? I found that you put pictures of kids in there, boom, it gets lots of traction. You put a stock photo of something in there, it's hardly seen at all. And a lot of the advertisements we do are just I won't say stock photos, but develop posters and that sort of thing. Are we looking at ways to try to make them more engaging? The report talked about entertaining. And I do believe, like, if you make it entertaining, you make it eye-catching, people will be engaged more. Are we looking at more to do that in the future? Because we have so many events that I think people can attend, but they just need that sort of advertising to see it.
Yep, through the chair to Councillor Taylor. It's one thing when we talk to the managers and the staff is a picture's worth 1,000 words. So you're going to get way more traction if you have a picture of what we have going on, even for water breaks and stuff like that. If you have a picture of the actual location, people can visualize it and they'll share it. So yeah, that is definitely something that we're working towards. There's privacy issues that we have to be concerned about, but as long as we get the proper forms filled out when we're taking the pictures, it shouldn't be an issue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, any further questions? Councillor Bevan?
Through the chair to Steve, I like your idea of the emergency page, because I know when we were evacuated, wherever it was, a lot of people knew me, they asked me where to go to see what was going on, and I could direct them to a page, or I could direct them to the mayor or CEO Beveridge's comments and stuff like that. But it was a lot of trying to find out where it was, so if we can click on that one page, that'd be great. And the other thing on LinkedIn, we don't use that very much. Is there a big cost of using that?
Through the chair to Councillor Bevan, there's no big cost to using that. It's just something we haven't explored a whole lot yet. We focused mostly on Facebook and formerly Twitter, now X. We don't get a whole lot of traction on X, so we're kind of doing a review of all of our social media platforms right now. X isn't used that much in our community, but Instagram, we found that it is picking up really fast, so that's a good thing. And LinkedIn is definitely something we're exploring as well.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor?
Through the mayor to Mr. Bethji, happy to hear you're integrating Instagram. That's a great way to get the under 30 demographic. And of course, with Facebook and Instagram linked, it makes it easier to push out information at the same time, right? So do you want to answer this, or perhaps, the SLT maybe want to answer it, CEO Beveridge may want to answer. This is, the position that you have, this is a big job. Like, it's a big job for one person, and it is perhaps one of the biggest priorities that we have is getting communication out there. We can always say that citizens should be engaged on their own, but we have to do everything in our power to get the message out there. And this is a tremendous job. And I see, people commenting on our Facebook page and, very late at night, and I'm thinking, man, our communications director is just trying to watch the game right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So how much assistance do you get, whether it be internal staff or via third party? And maybe a follow-up question to CEO Beveridge, is this something we need to look at later on down the road of more support within our communications department? And so that we find better ways to get the message out here. So I'll leave it to Mr. Bethji first.
Go ahead, Mr. Bethji.
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, I mentioned in the report we're looking at different ways to increase capacity, so you may get some information on that soon.
CEO Beveridge?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Councillor Taylor. This item has been an area of concern for us for a few years. This has been something through our budget deliberations, through several years of being with the community. We are preparing our operating budget for 2024, and we do have resources that we're going to be asking for from council to support this division or this department in a more consistent manner, because if you'll note, in 2022 we brought on the contract to help with assistance, because prior to that there was no assistance for Mr. Bethji. He was on his own. So we had identified that a third party was, coverage of even vacation was an issue. So we have identified this as an issue, and part of the things is basing our decisions on data, and this is part of the audit as well. It came out clear as far as how much work of the workload there was for one individual for our community that serves, whether it be emergencies, whether it be just our normal routine communications.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Thank you very much for your presentation, Steve. I think it's really important to get the feedback that we have received here so we can improve. That's what these surveys are about. I am disappointed that we only had 175 responses. And I know that there is some folks that were helping, trying to get the word out to get people to fill out this survey, and we still only had 175 responses in a community of 8,400 people. And communications, I find, is becoming more and more challenging. Even though there's more access to get information, it's harder because there's just so many channels and everybody seems to be augmented on different areas of where they're looking for that information. I do think that one of the areas that I think that we could utilize more is our utility bills. I think that's a really good way of getting some information out. Unfortunately, those aren't timely updates. Those are more scheduled month-end type things, but that's a really good way of at least reaching people directly if they're not on social media. Unfortunately, we used to have reporters that used to sit here and cover our meetings, and that doesn't happen anymore, and do interviews and follow-ups and ask questions. So looking forward to seeing the work that's going to be underway, and thank you for all your hard work, especially during the emergencies. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So if there is no other questions, comments, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thanks, Steve. Can I get a motion, please, that council appoint the General Manager of Infrastructure and Operations as Director of Emergency Management for the town of Edson? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, and we will hand things over to CAO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council. The briefing note, my apologies, the request for decision is fairly self-explanatory. At this time, I first of all wanted to thank Chief Milton for his role as interim DEM through the transition time of having our DEM leave in, I believe it was October this year. We've determined that and evaluated that a permanent DEM is required as we head into the next season. I'm careful with my words here. So at this time, we've evaluated our candidates internally as far as who would be best suited for this role. And I think from my perspective, I'm recommending that the General Manager of Infrastructure and Operations, Clayton Kitlitz, is the candidate of choice at this time. Clayton, throughout the emergency in 2023, was a key player with regards to the emergency, and his steadfast and calm leadership was something that was very much appreciated, and also I think benefited not only the Emergency Operations Center as well, or Emergency Coordinator Center, as well as the community. So therefore, with regards to the responsibilities, there's a preparation and coordination of the emergency plan. That's something that would be still delegated to the Protective Services Manager and General Manager of Infrastructure and Community and Protective Services. That's within their job description. So there are items that are delegated down. There's also, of course, acting as the DEM throughout the emergencies, if we have any, also coordinating all emergency services and other resources, and of course performing any other duties as required. At this time, the recommendation for myself is that council consider the appointment of the General Manager of Operations and Infrastructure as the Director of Emergency Management.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the chair to CEO Beveridge. Just weird question, more maybe it's a housekeeping item, but we're appointing a title, we're not appointing a person. And is there a reason for that?
Absolutely. Through to Councillor Pasichny, actually, as per the LEMER, the Local Authorities Emergency Management Act, it's actually supposed to be positions versus people.
Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, and through the chair, further on that question then, so if somebody's in that position acting as the director, so quite often you have someone acting, does that person then become the DEM?
Go ahead, CEO Beveridge.
Thank you for the question. The Deputy Director of Emergency Management would become the DEM. That would follow that path. So the Deputy DEM, which is appointed by the DEM.
If I
Go
may.
ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
So then that means if he's going on vacation, you'd have to appoint a deputy DEM at that time?
Immediately follow, sorry, Mr. Mayor. My apologies. Through to Councillor Pisichny, immediately following the appointment of the DEM will be appointing a Deputy DEM, and therefore we have coverage.
All right. I'm interested to see who the deputy dog is. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to CEO Beveridge and Mr. Kitlitz as well, I just wanted to say excellent choice. And just remember when we appointed a DEM back in May of last year, 5 days later, I'm just saying, so if you make it past 5 days, great job. So there you go. But excellent choice. Thank you.
Don't even joke about that, Councillor Taylor. Thank you for that. I think your choice recommendation here is well thought out, as other people acting in emergency services roles will be further engaged. And it's really important that the Director of Emergency Management has a holistic view of what's going on in the emergency. As we learned last spring, you have the social services side, you have the infrastructure side, you have the community side, and of course, just dealing with the actual emergency itself. And I'm really appreciative of the work that Mr. Beck did as our Director of Emergency Management. His calm style was critically important. The Directors of Emergency Management are in control of the emergency. It's a really important role for our community. And I don't think, at least from my perspective, I didn't realize the importance of that role until it actually happened. So look forward to hopefully never having to work with you in this role, but I think this is the appropriate way of handling this particular position. So if there's no other further questions, comments, or concerns, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Congratulations. We have no information items, no sundry items, council committee reports. We're going to go back to February the 20th, and we will start with Councillor Bevan.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan, and we will move on to Councillor Pisichny.
On the 27th, we had a brief Zoom meeting on the YCE Center, or the multiplex. It was a very short brief, brought us up to date where we're at. Our next meeting will be the kind of the meats and potatoes meeting. That's coming up this month. And then yesterday we had attended the youth council meeting over in the new community services building. So we had a tour of that. And that was my report.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Councillor Moore.
On February 20th, of course, there was a council meeting. February 22nd, the RCMP open house, and March 1st, the Alberta Municipalities after budget recap, which was a virtual meeting. It was very interesting, for sure.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chouinard.
I have nothing to report for my committee meetings because they're coming up, but I will point out I attended the RCMP open house on the 22nd and also February 28th and attended the Fire Smart, which was very good information. So that's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Chouinard. And Councillor Taylor.
On February 21st, I attended the Homelessness Task Force meeting where where we discussed some of the positives and the challenges of the warming center, and just had a good hash out with some of the engaged groups within that, speaking to some of the vulnerable people in our community, just finding ways to make it more accessible and things like that. We also discussed that we have a strat planning session coming up in April, where we'll be choosing the direction of that task force and see what we want to accomplish in the next year or so. Also on February 21st, I attended our library board meeting, and as of yesterday afternoon, their fundraising efforts are ongoing and for furnishings of the building. And thus far, they've raised just around $52,000, including 2 very big checks from Vermilion Energy and Tourmaline. So we want to thank those 2 organizations or 2 businesses for coming forward and doing that. And they're continuing on with the fundraising efforts, which is great. We also passed our 2024 budget officially, and you'll be seeing that coming before council, or the request from the board to council coming in our operations budget. On February 22nd, I attended the RCMP Town Hall. On the 28th, the Fire Smart session, which was great. Both were great. On March 4th, I attended the Yellowhead Regional Library Board meeting where we passed our financial audit. And yesterday, of course, March 4th again, I attended a youth council meeting where we had a great discussion on our the homelessness project that they're working on. So look for the youth at the trade show in the town booth as they sort of raising money for the food bank and discussing some of the things they've learned about homelessness. And they had a great little discussion about perhaps a code of conduct regarding youth at some of our town facilities, and more on that. They'll be doing some talking and researching on that and discussing more in our next meeting, and that is my report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. February 22nd, attended the RCMP Town Hall. Great to see reductions in our crime stats. 27th, the YCE Steering Committee meeting, as Councillor Pasichny noted, was a very short meeting, but lots of work has been underway and continuing this month. So hopefully we'll have an update to share with the community soon. February the 29th, I was invited to attend the budget lockup virtually to hear what the government was doing. And then Mr. McIver had a town hall later on that evening that I participated in as well. Obviously, you've seen the communications from Alberta municipalities. Not happy that we have not seen an increase in LGFF base level funding for infrastructure. We're facing a significant infrastructure deficit in this province when it comes to our communities, and advocacy on that is ongoing, but there has been some really good announcements. The government just made a really good announcement yesterday on flood and disaster mitigation projects, and drought projects. So there is, I guess, some good news in the budget in terms of support for communities. And then on March 4th, Mayor Williams and I met to discuss our collaborations together, and as well as the upcoming season of emergencies and the current fire situation. So that is my report. We have no financial items. Questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting? No questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. With that, then, I will go to a motion that the meeting move into a closed session pursuant to Section 21 and 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. I believe we have a couple motions coming out of our closed session. So we have Ms. Amanda Veerboom with us, if you want to put those motions on the screen. So can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to pursue the land matter as discussed in closed session? Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to schedule a special meeting on April 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Town of Edson Council Chambers to hold a public hearing for land use bylaw number 2296. Counselor Moore?
I so move this motion.
Thank you, Counselor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And that concludes the motions coming out of closed session. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Go ahead, Counselor Pasichny.
I move adjournment.
Thank you, Counselor Pasichny. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously.
You didn't follow the order.